welcome to Experience Matters. We're so excited that you're joining us, and wherever you are in the world, I hope you're cozy because it is cold today in Austin, Texas. And by cold, I mean it's like 55. If you don't know me, I'm Crystal Weiss. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Question Pro, and I'm based in Austin, Texas. Make sure you tell me where you're based in the comments section. And Nick, he's our guest for the day. He's got a lot of thoughts. He's not afraid of my rapid fire questions. We're ready to go. Nick, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name's Nick Glimsdahl. It is 26 degrees here in Ohio. We got 3 inches of snow yesterday. So Crystal, 55. I'd be wearing shorts. It'd be amazing.
I was like, it's so nice outside technically.
But, a little bit about me. I work and I consult on contact center. I think ultimately there's a lot of need in that. And I think we could have a whole nother podcast, let alone a podcast episode on that. But, author on The Heart of Service and got a
new author, first time.
Yeah. So super excited about that.
Well, we're so glad you're here. We're going to have kind of a overarching discussion about trends in 2026, and shout out to everyone who submitted questions ahead of time. We're so glad you did. That's going to help kind of craft our discussion. If you're following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, put your comments in the questions, and our producer in behind the scenes, Paulina, will be able to track them down. Well, let's jump into 2026 trends. I am not sad to leave 2025. It was not my year. I'm ready for 2026. Okay. Tell us your 10 out of 10 moment for 2026. Personal, professional, highlight reel.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest one was that I did write The Heart of Service. It took about 11 months to write. And I think it wasn't necessarily the moment that I launched it, but it was the moment I hit enter and I was complete and I hit save and I was done with the book. So 10 out of 10 for that.
Woo, I love that. And Paulina's going to stick a link to Nick's book in the comments section so you can purchase it and give it a read through. And okay, here we go. First question. In your work with brands in The Heart of Service, and your book, The Heart of Service, what's one 2026 CX trend that's wildly overhyped?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's overhyped right now is, and too many people are freaking out about it, is that AI is going to replace everything. Every AI is going to replace all humans. No humans are ever going to have a job when it comes to customer service or customer experience. And I think, honestly, it's just not true. At least not in the near future. And I think the problem with that is it distracts a lot of leaders from doing the real work that matters. And I think you need to be focusing on the outcomes or the jobs to be done with AI and then work backwards to the technology and not focus necessarily on freaking out about how AI is going to eventually replace your process.
I would totally agree with that. And here's why. I went to the Forrester CX conference for the first time this year, and talk about big brand vibes. I'm not the girly to be there. But I went to this women in leadership section the day before, and there we were doing these little pods, and there were women there, and I don't know how they survive out in the world, that they're still trying to go through digital transformation at their company. They were still sending paper surveys. And here everyone's talking about AI taking over. And I'm like, there are companies, guys, who are still trying to get their CX programs and their surveys programs into the digital space.
Yeah.
And
that's rough. Are they still using fax machines too, or how does that work?
I had to send a fax the other day. I had to use an app to send it.
Please hold. Your call is very important to us.
I was like, I don't even know how to do this.
Yeah.
And so I think that when it comes to that overhyping, what are some of the things, or is it fear that distracts those leaders? Or is it just everyone's talking about it, so we have to talk about it too?
Yeah, I think it comes from multiple angles. I think there's a lot of noise in the marketplace versus what it actually is going to solve for. I think people just get the overabundance of information, and then they just get a fear of doing something and then doing something wrong. I mean, ultimately, what somebody has been in the space for 10, 15, 20 years in the organization, maybe they didn't succeed the first time. Maybe AI 5 years ago didn't go according to plan, and now they're tasked to lead this new AI initiative, and they're like, yeah, but what happens if I screw up the second time? What happens if I implement this 6-figure implementation in addition to this ongoing operational cost and it fails? What does that actually do to me and to my position in the organization?
So I talk a lot about that because I'm still like a CX newbie, right? I came from, I worked in like blockchain before I worked at Question Pro. So I'm always been in marketing. And in my view, marketing is the customer experience, right? Especially if we're doing events, if we're doing stuff. So moving into what was called the traditional CX space with everyone's frameworks and everyone's version of interpreting data, I was like, but are you the ones planning the events or building the software? No. Okay, I'm slightly confused and probably insulted a few people. And so I think there's always that disconnect from, they're like, oh, well, my job is dependent on this industry. And that really has always set like strange with me. But then how do you feel about people whose roles are tied to their NPS scores? Kill it or keep it?
Oh, you're getting spicy now. All right. So I had the opportunity to, on my podcast, Press One for Nick, I had the ability to actually interview Fred Reicheld, and he's the founder. And he ultimately said that NPS is not the problem. It's actually how companies use it is the problem. And what he goes on to say is that NPS is the score and the survey. And I think that's what most people focus on. It only works if you actually close the loop and use the feedback to actually get better. And most companies do that, and most companies don't do it well, right? And then there's the big NPS, and it's the purpose behind the score, right? It's the belief that you cannot build a healthy business unless you build and put the customer first. And we chatted about this even offline a little bit, but he's like, every company that succeeds over the long haul puts customers' interest before everything else. And if you don't do that, then you're going to fall behind. If you don't have actionable insights with the NPS, then you're going to fall behind. If all you're going to say is like, we had X on the NPS last year, CX leader, you now need to get to Y or X plus 2. And I don't think that's healthy. I think that, so again,
I think that's big red flag energy.
Yeah. And
like, I wouldn't want to work under that CX program.
No.
So how do you think people can, we did one of these, I was in Mexico when we did it. So like September, where we talked about how CX leaders can advocate for themselves and like really start using, go to, Toastmasters. Like, how do you start really bringing the story together in 2026? What's one, I don't know, like not off the rails, but off the books or something that's kind of hidden that CX leaders could really start advocating for, that like gives their C-suite like an aha moment?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's anything that happened this year. I mean, ultimately, the CX leaders, and one of the things that I think is a big issue is that they show up to the board meeting or the leadership meeting and they say, look at all of this amazing pixie dust and fairy tales, we should have it. And they don't actually align they don't look at the journey, the pain points, the metrics, the transcripts, the sentiment, and then say, what is our biggest pain point? Again, working backwards to the technology, not bringing technology on the front end, and then aligning what they're trying to solve with the outcomes that the organization's trying to achieve. And if you're not going to the peer, you're the CX leader, you're the CMO, you have the ability to communicate with now the VP of operations and the VP of sales and the VP of marketing and, VP of finance, and say, like, what's your guys's biggest need here in 2026 coming in as we look at budgets? And if you're not all coming to the table, or you're not bringing that holistic conversation back to the leadership, and the leadership saying, hey, that's all great and it sounds awesome, and what a great Amazon or Disney experience, but how does this actually solve my problem?
I think there's a lot of examples of like CX, like the CX gold standard that doesn't necessarily actually apply to most everyday businesses. And so they're trying to like achieve something that like, bro, you've got hundreds of people who work in, I'm assuming, in CX and customer experience at those companies. If you're working in a company where you're the sole CX practitioner trying to like advocate for that, I think you really do have to reframe and find your like your tribe, right? Find those people you can get in the trenches with, because from everything I've learned this year, kind of doing this show, is when CX is siloed, CX doesn't succeed.
100%. 100%. Like if, and there's even organizations that I've worked with and they're like, Nick, I have to actually, I don't have budget. So now I got to go to every single organization or department inside my company. And it might be big and it might be small, but I now have to say, I think I can solve this for you, but I need $60,000 to try. And they're like, no, like, we're good.
What do you think, and this is, we were kind of talking about this ahead of time as we talk about that CX silo, a lot of times when you're thinking about companies, customer experience, you're thinking about their app experience, their maybe like their banking experience, but the CX programmers or the people who run those programs don't necessarily have control or influence in let's training, bank tellers, in the product design, or in event management. Me and Paulina, our producer, we run our big X Day event every year. And it is literally built for the customer experience, right? We had a live Longhorn you could ride this year because it was in Texas. We had a DJ. It's like, think like rave meets the boringest conference you've ever been to. But like, it's because our customers are spending 2 days, 3 days flying in. Not only do I want to teach them amazing things about Question Pro, I also want to make sure their experience while they're there isn't a dud.
Yeah.
How do CX professionals not weave their way in, but kind of go, hey, do we have a training program for our tellers that I could help do a presentation at? Or can I be on the next roadmap we get a lot of, feedback about this weird button. How do they start advocating for those non-traditional spaces?
And so is the question around these CX leaders going to events, or once they're at the event, how do they actually bring that information back?
I would say, how do they influence the experience before it happens so that they can help measure it better? Because if you just let your events team or your trainers train and then they're like expected to measure something they didn't help influence.
Yep. Yeah, I think right there, you just nailed it. You're answering your own questions. That's why. That's the beauty of another
professional.
question.
I'm not a professional. I'm just a marketer over here.
So I think that is the key, right? Is as you think of that client journey, you think of that process, you think of the Texas mindset, the Texas experience, along with the most boring event possible. But you also are thinking of like, what are they hoping as a client that they get out of this? And maybe you survey your clients, your clients that are, the red, yellow, and green, and you're saying, like what are you actually hoping to get out of this? And would this actually benefit you? And what are you hoping to solve for in 2026 as you're coming in and we have an event here on December 5th or whatever that is? That way you can actually focus and have it be more personalized. And so when they show up to the event and they're like, they heard what I said and they actually implemented what I was asking for. And that was important to me. And now I can take that information that I don't have to sift through and hopefully find the information I'm hoping to solve for, but you actually presented it back to me. And maybe at the end of the conference, you're like, hey, you know what? You were asking about these 4 things. Here's some takeaways and based off of what I know about your organization and what you were asking for and how I think you could present this to leadership. We'd love to schedule 30 minutes with myself and the account executive of the customer service team to make this a success for you.
I love that. What about, I'm thinking about like holidays now, right? Holiday workers. I'm really stuck on this bank teller thing because I really think if a CX practitioner helped bank tellers, it would be a better experience. But
Yeah.
maybe I go to the bank too often. But, you have seasonal workers coming in. You have a lot of people going to retail stores, and maybe I need to find like a retail expert to answer all these. Not that you're
Yeah.
not, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there is definitely still a disconnect between CX programs and frontline workers, people who are really engaging with the customer, because the NPS or your survey is really surveying the people interaction, not necessarily the product. How do you, when NPS is so vague, in my opinion, because I get it, and I'm like, you're asking a question about an experience that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to recommend a product, but the person was a bad experience, that's separate. What questions would you ask to kind of separate those things out?
Yeah, honestly, I think I would focus more on, if you're still asking the question about to the consumer, yes, there's plenty of people that say, would you refer this person? Would you hire this person yourself? The challenge is if I interact with Amazon, I could put on chat. And I have a whole nother issue with that, but is that I can communicate with 3 people in 10 minutes. Because they're just switching and maybe not the right fit, and they didn't know what my actual need was or push me to the right person the first time. But like, that's the challenge that you're going to run into, is like, was Susie, did you have a great experience with Susie? Or, how would you make this a better experience? I think ultimately you're not trying to reprimand, and maybe you are, and in some instances, if they happen consistently, but you're just trying to improve the experience from both the agent and the consumer. And so I would have to think on what would be the right questions to get the best result or the best answer.
Yeah. And I think that as we're moving forward into this almost like human-centered support is going to be what we were talking about earlier, or behind the stage, as a premium, because AI is going to start taking over. The questions about would you recommend Amazon is not Amazon the product, but it's going to be the people interactions that influence that the most. It's going to be, I think, this leads me to my next question. Man, I'm good at my job. So Sarah asked, what's one CX trend you believe leaders are underestimating for 2026? And what's the risk if they wait to act too long? And I know my answer to this, which is I think IRL, like in-person interactions, are going to be so key in 2026. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Yes, you're talking about AI in the front end, but what are you actually doing with AI? Like, is it important to have a voice bot? Is it important to have a virtual agent? Is it important to have an agentic AI agent? And I think if done correctly for the right use cases, agentic is the right fit. Agentic is expensive, caveat, asterisk, right?
There is a question in here about budgeting.
Yeah. So it is a major leap from a technology investment, but it's also a significant jump on the quality of AI. And I think that if what you're trying to do is remove a lot of those friction points for those individuals, and there are plenty of agentic AI out there, and some are better than others. But I think if done correctly, ultimately, here's a perfect use case. I saw a video, and I won't mention the company, but I saw a video of a pretty good agentic AI, and I showed my wife, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And she's like, "Man, that's creepy." And she goes, "That's it. That's a non-human." And I said, "Well, yeah." And she's like, "I wouldn't use it." And I said, "All right. So if you called into a contact center and they said, your call is very important to us, your wait time is 15 minutes. Or would you like to talk to our AI to solve your problem right now?" And if they solve your problem in the first 60 seconds, great. And if you can't solve a problem, it goes to a human being. And she's like, "So you mean I could use that on the front end or after hours, and maybe not have that personalized experience with the human, but they could solve all the problems that a human could?" And I said, "Well, yeah." She's like, "Then I would use it, 10 out of 10 times if it could do it quicker. And I said, exactly, right? Like that's going to be the future, is the wait time is not going to happen. But if you do actually want to wait, you can get the human.
So and that goes to back, like human service is going to be a premium.
Yep.
Like you're going to, and we were, I don't know. But I'm like a big chat. Like I would rather, Apple has this option where it's like business chats that you can do through text message. I think every company should be doing that. It's great. But my pet peeve is that they ask you for your phone number like 3 times and you're like, I am texting you. I always want to be like, what CX software are you using? Like what? Because I want to know what chat software they're using, because it has to be logged. And then they don't like that.
Yep.
But I think that's definitely like if you're sitting on that, but then Barotos asked, what CX technologies are accessible and affordable for small businesses? Like if you can't afford that really fancy agentic AI, are you better off investing in people than bad AI?
Oh, that's such a slippery slope, right? Because, I guess the question that I would have is, this is such like I feel like a politician. It depends, right?
6, 7.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is like, what are you trying to solve? And what's the cost for those agents? What's the turnover? How expensive is it for the fully loaded agent? So the amount that it costs to train them and to educate them and to equip them with the right technology and bring them up to speed, and then obviously retain them so they don't leave in 8 months or they don't leave after the initial 90-day bonus. There is a lot of use cases inside the contact center, because that's what I know, with just a voice bot that you can get to solve a lot of the mundane questions, like resetting the passwords. I need to update my account. I need to make a payment. Like you can do all of that, and it's pennies on the dollar. And that cost per interaction, if you think of it that way, like what is the cost per interaction for a voice, a chat, versus like an AI, or it could be $8 for a human voice interaction. It could be $5 for a digital, because they're not working just on your interaction, but maybe 2 or 3 at the same time. And then there's AI. So if you're looking at it only from a strictly, I'm paying for AI or I'm paying for a human, and maybe that might not be the best way to think about it. Think about it by the cost per interaction.
Interesting. Okay. This actually, we have a great LinkedIn question. Yeah. Do you think the usage of AI is impacted by countries' culture?
Ooh, yeah. I think even on languages, I think there's plenty of software now that you can translate in real time. You need to make sure that translation from English to Spanish or English to French is not Canadian French, but it's French, right? And have it be accurate, because if it is translating from one language to another and you don't have somebody in that language that's like tweaking it or making it a better experience, it's just going to feel gross.
Even like US English to UK English. You can always see the difference, like contact center, right? They spell center RE instead of ER.
Yeah. And same with personalize. It's an S versus a Z.
I can always tell when I'm in like an automated workflow email from someone from the UK and they're trying to be like really personable. And I'm like, you missed it, my guy. Yeah. But I think this is something we definitely are going to see more about. I don't think there's enough research on this from like a market research perspective. The AI impacted by other companies, like other cultures, I think definitely there needs to be some more research on that for CX leaders, especially of global companies. You're going to have to localize it.
Yeah, I would say the same is true with just bad implementations, and you didn't think of the whole process of the consumer's journey. with AI in general. So if you're just implementing a AI bot and it just feels gross, like it doesn't matter if you translate that or not, it's always going to feel gross.
Okay, that's actually a good lead in. What is your biggest AI ick? Like,
Like
like
yeah,
like the
there's
dating ick. I mean, you're not dating, but I'm dating. So every once in a while, a guy will like walk in with socks and sandals, and I'm like, you could be Prince Charming, and I cannot talk to
wait,
you.
but does the socks actually have the groove where the toe goes, or is
No,
he
it's like
wearing the
Birkenstocks.
oh, so it's not like the Ninja Turtle socks?
High socks. Yeah.
Classy, classy. So I would say for me, and I'll go back to the Amazon. I'll riff on them because I just spoke with them. So here's a prime example. I ordered 100 of my books on Amazon. I use Kindle Direct Publishing for the book selling, and it's great, right? But the problem that I had with the one time that I ordered 100 books is that the cover was discolored on most of the covers, and so when I laid them out across and I was about to present and had the keynote, and it was great. But I look up and the lady was like, "Hey, is there a reason why all of your colors are discolored?" I was like, "No," right? Bad experience. So I chatted with them, and I did have that individual, and they're like, "You know what? Not a good fit. I can't do it. Abort." Right? Like they go to the next person,
Abort.
and yeah, and they're like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And I was like, "I just talked to that person for 5 minutes. Can you take the time to actually sift through or have maybe a summary of the interaction so you don't have to keep asking me?" And they're like, too complicated, going to the next person. So I went to the next person, and the person's like, "Hey, great, how can I help?" I was like, "Can you do me a favor and scroll up so I don't have to now have a 10-minute conversation with you to talk about the same stuff?" Long story short, I had to now fill out a form, upload a couple pictures, explain the reason why, and I ended up getting like I think $100 credit towards my Amazon account. But AI could probably solve this, right? They know that I'm a Kindle Direct Publishing. They know I purchased and how much I've purchased on Amazon. I would say at the end of the day, like customers forgive the problems and the delays. But the one thing that they also did is, "Hey, can you wait for 3 minutes? Kindly wait for 3 minutes." It's a script that they use. And I'm like, sure, right? So
They
I'm
gave
doing
you the
something
time.
else.
You're not infinitely waiting.
Yeah. And so then that 3 minutes becomes another 3 minutes, which becomes another 3 minutes. I'm like, don't tell me it's going to take a time. Just be specific on what you're actually trying to solve. And then the next step after that. So I'm not in this gray area. Consumers hate the gray area. If you think of the gray area, going back to
People
the
in
dating,
dating
right?
hate the gray area too.
Yeah.
It's ick for everyone.
Right. So if you're dating somebody and they give you this gray area moment, and either they don't reply to you or they're ghosting you for a week, and you're like, either the person died or they never want to see me again. Right. And I think that's what consumers see as well. And
I
so
am dead to this brand. This brand is dead. They died.
this brand is like a guy wearing socks and sandals.
Yeah.
Dead to me.
Dead to me. That's how I feel about the U.S. Postal Service right now.
There it is.
They lost so many of my packages this year, and they will not admit it. Like, you are stuck in this infinite loop where it's always in transit.
Mm-hmm.
My ACL bracelet for Austin City Limits is still in transit. Austin City Limits was in October.
Wow.
And I just want them to admit that they lost it.
Yeah, because then you actually can file something, but if they don't admit
I don't
it,
even
then
want to
there's
file
no
anything. I just want them to admit it and take it. Now I'm just being petty. Okay, here we go. What is your CX minor pet peeve? Like, this is kind of like an ick, but it's like, what sends you over the edge besides asking for your phone number over and over again?
Yeah, the one pet peeve that I have too is when people overuse my first name. And they're, like it could be on the voice bot, it could be a digital bot, it could be an actual human being, but they're just like, "Nick, thank you so much. Nick, here's what I found for you. Nick, I have a problem with this." And I'm like, just stop. Like, I know you're trying to personalize the experience, but it's not working, and I'm still pissed off. Right. And now I'm on my second channel and I wasted too much time, and I've added friction to this experience. Like, I don't want to hear my name again. Just stop. Like, and so that's probably a big pet peeve of mine.
That goes back to also, I think, like CX program directors need to do training with frontline workers.
Yes. Yep.
Like, I don't care if you spiff it. I don't care if you make it part of onboarding, but they need to do it every year. Like those people that you're interacting with at Target, at the bank, at the postal service, your scores are being impacted by someone you are not managing or training or taking care of. They don't care about your CX score.
Yep.
They got other things going on. Like they're underpaid. So I think that like goes back to that where it's like, that's funny, Nick. I'm really glad you're here today. I hope.
I'm here for you.
Oh, thanks, Nick. We're really glad that you were able to come on board. I'm just going to keep saying your name. Okay, that's a great thing. Most overrated personalization tactic that brands should abandon. First name usage.
Yeah, first name usage. I'm gonna stick on that. I feel like the Band-Aid's already ripped off, so I might as well just like keep talking about that. Personalization. I think overuse of AI for the wrong reasons. There are a lot of organizations that are saying we're AI first, and what they don't realize is that it's creating a really bad experience, and they're now consumers' first choice will not be theirs.
Yeah. And I think consumers are getting smarter around AI for sure.
Yeah.
And even my mom, she's like 75. She's just like, no. She just is yelling like customer service into the phone.
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, if you yell curse words, they'll get you like to someone faster. And my mom's like, I can't do that.
That's funny. She needs a recording of you cursing so that she could just hit play on another phone.
Oh my gosh, yes. Because she's just like, Krista, we don't need to talk that way. And I'm like, Mom. Classic Midwesterner, you know.
Yeah.
And then she says oop every time someone bumps into her. But okay. I think those are all most overrated CX flag. Oh, here we go. We'll wrap it up here in a second. What brand, we've talked about how Amazon didn't stand out to you. What brand really won your loyalty this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was the one that really stood out to me, and I actually interviewed this guy too, but his name is Jason McGowan. He owns Crumble. Have you ever had a Crumble cookie?
Mm-hmm. They don't have very good gluten-free ones though.
Yeah, so sorry about that. But so I think he is. It's such a good experience for me. Like it's the story that they tell. It's how they bring the consumer on the journey. It's every single week that they have this new additional flavor that they come out with. I remember when they first came out to the city that I was in at the time, and they're like, my wife's like texting me, hey, here's the new flavor. And I was like, you're hooked. Yeah, like you have a semi-addiction to these cookies. Honestly, that app experience is great. The one thing that I think that Jason also talked about, he goes, his goal was to perfect and to be completely obsessed when all they used to sell was a chocolate chip cookie. And he goes, I literally had 1,000 different iterations to make that chocolate chip cookie. And he goes, my neighbors, my cousins, they're all sick of me making the cookie, but eventually I got it. Yeah. And I think having that customer obsession and staying, you think of the athlete, that athletes consistently are focused on improving little iterations of their game to make that tweak to improve just that 1% better. And I think organizations that lean into that will create a better experience.
I love that. I think also a good app experience can really put a brand over the edge if it's a consumer brand. Like, what's the salad company? Not Sweet Greens. Is it Sweet Greens? Has a great app where you can like personalize your salad and then you just go pick it up. And that is really, I go buy salads there more often than I should, simply because it's like, oh, I could try this. Oh, I could do this. Like it's the customization of it. Or one, I don't go there very often because it's too far away, but Shake Shack also has a great app experience.
Interesting. Yeah, I had Shake Shack in LA at an airport, and that was actually semi-suspect, but then I tried it and I was like, hey, this is pretty good.
We have a Shake Shack here in Austin. Someone who I think has a good app, but their in-person experience deters me a little bit is Chick-fil-A. When you go up to Chick-fil-A, when you're driving to the drive-thru, they're always so far away from the board because they're like out there now. But as someone who only goes maybe once every 6 months, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And when I can't see the board, they're like, okay, what would you like? Or, and you're like, I don't know. I don't come here.
Yeah, why are you coming at me so hot right now?
Yeah, their experience is built for the people who go over and over again. It's not built for the one time. So I do the app because I get so overwhelmed by the people asking me like what I want when I can't see the menu.
Yeah, honestly, so Kroger delivery. So Kroger, you guys have Kroger grocery stores there? So Kroger delivery is good. Their website is atrocious, and it only works when you refresh it and wait, and you have to save it. And if you don't save it right away, then it's gonna freeze up on you. You got to start over. And they're like, "Hey, look at how amazing they didn't upgrade, and the upgrade sucks, right?" So, but it does save me time, and so I'm still gonna go through some of the pain until there's another better experience with somebody else.
Yeah. And Kroger is interesting because Fred Meyer's in Oregon is owned by Kroger, and they have their own app that's like very functional. But then like Dillon's in Kansas, where my parents are, is also a Kroger, and theirs is terrible.
Interesting.
But we have HEB here in Texas, so I'm safe.
What'd you call me?
HEB? Oh, sorry. I also though love a Myers and a Hy-Vee. I just like migrate to like the little like local owned grocery stores wherever I go.
Yeah.
But Nick, okay, final parting words to 2026. If you're a CX practitioner and you've got to do your plan tomorrow because your boss said he only needed thoughts. Sorry, inside joke that Nick and I were talking about.
That never happens, by the way. Yeah.
What's your CX plan? What's your top 2 goals for CX?
Oh, no, I'm going to give you 3. I got to think of 3. So I would say don't focus on the consumer experience first. Focus on that agent experience. Focus on we talked about that. What is your frontline friction points? What are they not doing well? What applications need to potentially be integrated? I'd say the second one is like, I call it operational debt. Like clean up that operational debt. It's that bad data. It's the crappy knowledge base. It's the broken routing. Like those, if you have a great, you could bring in the Ferrari of AI, right? But if you have bad debt, bad data, and a bad knowledge, it doesn't work. I would also like take the time to be the customer. That would be the third one, is like to actually eat the greens that you are delivering, to look at that experience and then work backwards and say, you know what, like Amazon's leadership, I think once a quarter has to sit inside the contact center and listen and take calls and be part of that consumer. The one thing that Kroger actually did really well 2 weeks ago, and it was like 7:00 in the morning, and typically it's just the one delivery person, but the person they're out of Cincinnati, so fairly close, and person from HQ, a leader, came and was like shadowing the delivery person, and they're like, hey, what could we do better? We're just like trying to deliver on the better experience. I was like, that's cool. Like, and I gave him the old nasty gram, and it was a kind nasty gram, but it was a nasty gram about that website. And they're like, well, tell me more about what's not working and how could we make this better? And I was like, you don't have to do that. You get to do that. And now what they do with that information is what's most important. So I would say fix the agent experience, clean up operational debt, and then, focus on the consumer and work backwards to the technology.
That is, I think, a big challenge for a lot of people. Get out there, right? Yeah. People have gotten really comfortable working from home or forcing their employees back to an office to keep an eye on them, even though if you do the math, they're actually working less, but whatever. Yeah. And, but putting themselves in the customer position requires some vulnerability.
Yeah.
and like admitting they don't have it right. So shout out to that Kroger guy. I'm sure he had got an earful the rest of the day.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I should have never came. This is a bad idea.
He's like, this is abort.
Yeah.
But Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And guys, make sure you pick up a copy of Nick's book. It will come correctly colored from Amazon. If it doesn't, let Nick know.
Yeah, please keep me posted.
And you can follow Nick on LinkedIn. We've dropped his LinkedIn profile in the chat. Thank you so much for being here on our last episode of Experience Matters for 2025.
That's amazing. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Have a great day.